It's IEP season, parents. Are you ready? Are you ready to be successful in your child's annual IEP that's probably coming up very, very soon? We're approaching IEP season quickly. I'm Valerie Abrahamian with Advocates for Angels, and I'm the IEP navigator. And I'm jumping on today to share with you some pro tips on IEPs and how to set up your IEP meetings so that you can have a successful outcome. So the first thing I want to talk about is there are several different kinds of IEP meetings, parents. So when I say different kinds, I mean the purpose of the IEP meeting. What is the purpose of the IEP meeting? And there's many different purposes for an IEP meeting. Now, there's the annual IEP meeting that happens once a year at the same date. There's a due date for your annual IEP. It should be on the front page of your annual IEP, and it'll say this annual IEP is taking place on this date, and the next annual is going to take place on the same date in 1 year. So that's your annual, and that is mandated by IDEA for school districts to have an annual IEP meeting once a year. Then there's a tri-annual IEP meeting, and that's every 3 years. School districts are mandated to hold a triennial IEP every 3 years, and for a triennial, they must reassess your child in all areas of their suspected disability. So that's when they're going to be doing assessments, and that's when they're going to be reviewing the results of those assessments and reporting on the standardized test scores that they did and got for your child regarding all the tests they did for those assessments, which of course assessments are the foundation to build your child's IEP and determine the goals, the accommodations, supports and services, and your child's placement. So that's a triennial. Then there is, if you have an annual or a tri, you might not complete it in one meeting, right? And you're going to have to reconvene to complete that annual or that triennial. And if that happens, that's called a continuation meeting of the triennial, a continuation meeting of the annual. So that's a continuation meeting where the team reconvenes to continue the agenda for that particular meeting, okay? Then there's an amendment meeting. Now, an amendment meeting isn't a tri, it isn't an annual, but it's an amendment to the annual that would happen maybe a month later, maybe 2 months later, maybe 6 months later. They're going to call an IEP to amend the annual that they developed previously. So that's a separate meeting. It will be on a separate document. It won't be on the annual document. It'll be on what's an amendment document where they're going to amend the annual. And typically, the school district will call amendment meetings if something's going to be changed or added in your child's IEP. Then there's IEPs that are parent-called IEP meetings. So those meetings I just mentioned are district is calling those IEP meetings and inviting you, the parent, to attend. A parent-called IEP meeting is when the district isn't calling it, you're calling it the parent, because you have an agenda to address your concerns and your requests that you want changed on your child's IEP. Now, when there is a parent-called IEP meeting, that's your IEP meeting, parents. There is no agenda that the district is mandated to follow or must complete certain components. Like in an annual, they must do it in a certain order, and they must complete certain components according to the law to conduct an annual or a tri. When a parent calls a meeting, there is no agenda. It's your agenda. So you develop an agenda, parents. You write out all of your concerns, all of your requests, and you present that to your IEP team and say, here's my agenda for the meeting that I called, okay? And when you call a meeting, parents, it's very important that you do certain things to make sure that your meeting is going to go successfully, and you're going to get the things accomplished that you want accomplished. So now I'm going to give you 7 points on how to do that. And you can also use these points when you have in your any other meeting that you have. So this will apply to everything, but I just wanted to differentiate the different types and purposes of an IEP meeting. And when it's a parent-called meeting, parents, you have the power. You lead the meeting. You facilitate it according to your agenda that you have provided to your IEP team. Okay? So number 1, when you put your request for your IEP in writing, it's always in writing, you're going to request exactly how much time that you think you're going to need for your meeting. Now parents, I always ask for 2 hours. What on earth can you ever get done in 30 minutes or even an hour? You're just getting going. You're just starting to talk. The team is starting to have a discussion. Sometimes an IEP team member might say something and they talk for 10, 15 minutes, and which is a tactic, a delay tactic to take up all the time, so then you don't get your agenda completed. So you have to be, aware of people who are going to be wasting your time in the meeting. So you want collaboration. You want people to opt in and weigh in on their opinions. However, you don't want someone taking up 15 minutes of time rambling on and on and on about their opinion, okay? So you got to be aware of that. So when you ask for your meeting, you're going to say, I'm requesting 2 hours for my IEP meeting. And the reason I'm requesting 2 hours is because I have quite many agenda items, and we will never be able to complete the IEP in an hour or 30 minutes or 45 minutes, which is typically what they want to offer a parent. So you demand 2 hours. You provide your parent agenda to show them that it's not possible to get it done in less than 2 hours, and then you are reassured that you have enough time to get through your agenda. Many parents have no clue that you can ask for a 2-hour meeting, and you can even demand a 2-hour meeting. Okay, so then what you are going to do is before the meeting, you're going to make sure that you get your notice of meeting, or the NOM. It's basically an IEP invitation that says, you are being invited to this IEP meeting on this date at this time, and then it will have all the attendees who are going to be attending the meeting. Now, several things about the notice of meeting that parents need to be aware of. So that notice of meeting, it is going to have the date and the time that they're going to offer you. Now, if you didn't work with your case carrier or whoever is calendaring that IEP, they're just going to, pull a date and time out of their hat of when they want to do it, and they're going to offer it to you in an IEP invitation, okay? Now, if you can't make it on that day, you can say, I would like to work with my case carrier, or whoever it is that's calendaring this meeting, so that we can come to an agreement on a date and a time that's convenient for me and the IEP team. So many times that you can, in your email that we're developing, all of these points are going to be in your email when you request your meeting. In your email, you can say, and this will eliminate all that back and forth of, oh, they gave me a date, I'm not available. They gave me another date, I'm not available. Okay, after 3 attempts, guys, they can just have the meeting without you if you say I'm not available 3 times. So that's why it's so important to give your dates that you're available right up from the get-go. So in your email, you're going to say, I'm available on, and give 4, 5, 6 dates that you're available on. Okay, and then they pick from one of those dates, and then there's not back and forth going that you're not available on some random time that they just offered you and expect you to drop your whole life to come to. Because the law says, parents, that it has to be convenient for you, not just the school district. So make sure you get a date and time that you are available to come. And make sure that that notice of meeting has all the mandated IEP team members on the attendee list. Now, who's a mandated IEP team member, parents? Everybody that sees your child. Every teacher that sees your child, every service provider that sees your child, every therapist that sees your child, Whoever is on your child's IEP and provides services or education, academic instruction to your child, they are a mandated IEP team member. Okay? So that should answer that question. Okay. So they need to be at your IEP meeting. Now, if all those people are not checked on your notice of meeting, then you need to contact your case carrier or your program specialist and say, I'm sorry, but my notice of meeting omitted my speech and language pathologist, the counselor that sees my child, the BCBA that supervises my RBTs or my behavior aids is not included. You make sure that the right people are invited, because you want all of your IEP team members there, parents. You don't hold meetings without people that work with your child, because then how are you going to address your issues? Okay? And it's your right to have them there. It is your right to have them there for the entire meeting, parents. So another thing that they do all the time is they'll come and they'll say, oh, your OT needs to leave after 20 minutes. So we'll just have them present first, and you can ask them whatever questions you have, and then they need to leave early. No, they're not going to leave early. You have a right to have your mandated IEP team members there for the duration of the meeting. And so if they are going to excuse anyone, parents, then they are mandated by law to give you an excusal form. And that's what we'll say at the top. Excuse IEP excusal form. And then it'll say OT, partial attendance at the meeting. Okay? And they want you to sign it to give them authorization that you're agreeing to allow your OT to leave the meeting early. You don't have to sign it, parents. Just because they give you a form and do this, parents think, oh, well, I have to sign it. No, you don't. You don't have to sign it. What you can do is you can say, you write back and you say, I'm sorry, but I have occupational therapy concerns and I need my OT there. Even if it's not OT concerns, the OT needs to hear, or your child might need sensory integration input or some OT strategies in a speech and language session or in the classroom. So you need your OT there for the entire meeting so that they can collaborate with the rest of the team and be helpful in resolving the concerns that you have, that you're going to bring up on your agenda. You never have to excuse anyone, parents. Okay, you have the right to have all your team members at the meeting for the duration of the meeting. Anytime someone who is attending the IEP meeting is required to stay for the entire IEP meeting unless the parent is ready to excuse them. If you're not ready to excuse them from the meeting, they're obligated to stay in the meeting. The district must inform you if a mandated team member cannot be present at the meeting by sending you an excusal form. You have the right not to agree to excuse them by not signing that excusal form. Number 4, you have a right to have a copy of the completed IEP, the meeting notes, and any other documents that were completed at the meeting before you leave that meeting. When districts email parents the IEP 2 or 3 weeks after the IEP, this is a violation of state and federal law when they delay your child in getting the services that they need. So what I mean by that is that I've seen it over and over again. You have an IEP meeting, it's done, you complete it. You don't have a copy of the IEP because today we're doing most things virtually. It used to be that we met in person at the school site with your team, and at that time you should have been handed the IEP before you leave that meeting. You're handed that IEP that you just developed. However, today we're in virtual, so how can they hand you an IEP? They can't. So they're supposed to email you that IEP that very same day, just as if we were in person. However, that's not happening anymore. Parents are getting IEPs a week later, 2 weeks later. I've even seen it go 3 weeks later. So what is the outcome of that, parents? That means that your child, for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however it longs to get you the IEP, so you can either sign an agreement or write a partial agreement, your child's not going to get that IEP implemented until you respond. Unless you are in a state that's not California, and that's a state that doesn't require parent signature, that's different. But I usually speak on behalf of California because we're in California, okay? So if you're in another one of those states, it's a little different for you. But however, you still have the right to get your IEP after you have a meeting. They shouldn't be delaying on getting you your IEP. Okay? 5, anytime you ask the team for specific service for your child or any kind of help at all, anything, the team says, I'm sorry, but we cannot give you that, or we can't make that decision here today, then you have the right to receive what's called a PWN, which stands for prior written notice, which is a response to your request, and either they're going to refuse it or they're going to accept and approve your request. So you always have, if at that meeting they can't give you a yes or a no to your request, then they have to provide you with a PWN 15 days after they hold that meeting. Number 6, the school must work with you and give you reasonable notice of your upcoming meeting. And I talked a little bit about that already. They have to give you time enough to prepare for the meeting. So when a district sends a parent a notice of meeting 3 days before the date, and the IEP is in 3 days, that is not reasonable notice, parents. You don't have to agree to come to a meeting in 3 days. You just write back and say, I'm sorry, this is not a reasonable notice for me to be able to prepare for this meeting. And here are some dates I'm available, okay? So don't ever feel bullied or pressured that you have to attend an IEP meeting because you got a notice of meeting. The law requires the district to work collaboratively with parents so that it's a convenient time for you to set up your daycare, your child care, prepare. What if you're going to be reviewing evaluations at that meeting? What if it's your annual IEP? Then you have a right to ask for the draft of your annual IEP. You have a right to ask for any evaluations that are going to be reviewed and study them prior to the IEP. Whatever that IEP is going to, like I went over at the beginning of the meeting, what's the purpose of that meeting, you're going to want to prepare and review all documents and be all ready to go to be an equal IEP team participant at the IEP table, and you won't be able to if you don't prepare before your meeting. Now, a lot of times on my page, parents, I've been, posting things like this on my page, and parents have been saying, I've asked for the draft, I've asked for evaluations, and they never give them to me. They just ignore my email, and they never give it to me. Well, parents, that is blocking you, or it is impeding you from becoming an equal IEP team participant. IDEA is huge on parents must be given the opportunity to be equal IEP team participants and fully informed. If you are not given the evaluation prior to the meeting, if you are not given the draft prior to the meeting, if you are not given adequate time to prepare for your IEP meeting and they make you come when you aren't ready to come, all of these things are a violation of your parent participation rights. And so when that happens, you need to take action. Don't just let them do this to you. You need to take action, okay? Because as I said, IDEA is really big on enforcing that. If you write a compliance complaint to your state and say, my team is blocking me from my right to be an equal IEP parent participant by doing this, and this, they're going to be dinged on that and found in violation of violating your rights as an IEP team participant. You can go, you don't have to right off the bat go to file a complaint. You can start with going to your district administrator who is over your case. And I'm not talking about your program specialist because they're not an administrator. The boss over your program specialist, who is the administrator, you go to them and you say, I have concerns and these are my concerns. If she doesn't fix it for you, then you go above her head. And if they don't fix it, you go above their head. And then you go to the superintendent. If they don't fix it for you, then you say, okay, you could go to the school board. The school board is the boss over everybody, okay? Or you could just cut to the chase and write a compliance complaint to your state education department. Okay? And the last one is, of course, you're going to record every IEP meeting that you have, parents. You are never going to have an IEP meeting without recording it. In different states, there's different requirements for recording. In California, you have to give a notice to record 24 hours prior to the IEP meeting. And all you have to say is, please be advised, I'm going to be recording my child's IEP meeting. Done. And then you get to record. Why do you want to record, parents? Because as you know, and you probably experience this, there's so many times when the team will have these wonderful collaborative discussions and you're thinking, oh, this is going really great. And people are offering good solutions and the team is coming to agreements on things. And you think that, okay, check that off my agenda, fix that, check that off my agenda, we did that, check that. And then you get the IEP. It's not written in there anywhere. They didn't document it. They didn't change anything in your IEP. Well, then what do? You call them back and you say, excuse me, but you didn't add this, you didn't add that, you didn't add this. Oh, that's not what they said. Oh, I don't remember that. Oh, no, I don't think that's what your speech and language pathologist said. Well, you have a recording, don't you? You have evidence. You have proof. So you never, ever, ever go into a meeting without tape recording, okay? And it is not an adversarial move. A lot of parents think, oh, I'm scared to record because then they're going to think that I'm setting them up to go to hearing, or I'm setting up to sue them, or I'm setting them up to catch them at something. Absolutely not. It is your right as a parent to tape record, plus then you have it as a record of your IEP meeting. And those recordings, you can use them as training tools. Parents, you learn so much by going back and listening to that IEP meeting, listening to what if it was an evaluation? And what if it was an IEE evaluation and a professional, in their field came and presented this wonderful report on your child with all this information, and you didn't record it. It's lost in the wind and out to the universe, never to be seen again, because you didn't record it. So you have it's a record of the IEP meetings. It's a training tool, and it's also used as evidence when they come back and say, oh, this wasn't said or that was said, and he said, she said kind of situation. So those are some great tips for you parents, and I hope that's going to help you to set you up for a good IEP. Most annual IEPs are starting now. I don't know why. They always leave them to the end of the school year, but typically annuals start in March and go all the way into May, and it's very important to be prepared for your annual IEP. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you soon.